Hello, everybody. I want to do this live. Just amazing couple of days. Politicians and watching from work, and just blowing me away. Absolutely blowing me away. Pierre Poilievre, he announces today on his social media. I screenshot it. I put it in a post, and then, of course, I pulled Chrystia Freeland's results on the world stage in economics, and they grade countries on their government's debt to GDP ratio, your public debt, how much your government has borrowed in operations. And of course, Canada blows so many countries out of the water. But it doesn't end there. As dire as that is, being the worst in the G7, we have household, we have corporate, and we have the public debt. Add those three together, Canadians, you are out of this world. You're absolutely in the worst financial condition out of any country in the world. We're ranked number one as of today. We are officially the worst indebted nation in the entire world. Total debt to GDP ratio. Absolutely worst. And Pierre Poilievre goes out and says, hey, all you unionized building trades workers, like he's some kind of Donald Trump, don't worry, I've got the Century Initiative. He was just in Gatineau, Quebec today. He promises 500,000 working Canadians in building trades unions employment in housing. Yeah, the federal government's gonna triple down on the debt in the Century Initiative, the same one Trudeau's been running for the last 9 years. The same initiative Trudeau has been running for the last 9 years. And you know what? It was the same initiative Stephen Harper was running too. Canada's plan in mass immigration, and you've all seen how that's worked out. Oh, sure, in the limited amount of private property, oh, so many people have exploded in house prices. In fact, they're so high, nobody can afford to buy them. You know who buys homes and tears them down? I was on Yonge Street last year. I watched my buddy's house, double attached garage. Think about this. Double attached garage, solid brick, 2,500 square foot home on Yonge Street, Toronto. Demolished the whole neighborhood because a developer bought it and is going to build a $300 million high rise project right there, ripping down all 20 of those houses because they're not worth it. Even at $1.5 million, $3 million each, it doesn't equal the $300 million he's going to get from those tiny condo apartments. They're going to be worth more than those houses. This is how sick we are in Canada. Pure socialist, pure fascist, in absolute heights of colonialism, where people are going to live in small quarters. You're going to be transported on the government transportation network. It's already starting in my province of Alberta. My Premier Danielle Smith released yesterday. She's going to make 1,200 kilometers of track for average everyday Joe Janes to get around the province. And dumbos out there, institutionalized Canadians, suckers who don't see that as pure liberal socialist works of the worst kind. Absolutely everything against taxpayers. Like, it's no big deal. It's only going to be 240 billion. Like, it's chump change for 4 million people. Well, now Pierre Poilievre's doubling down on it too. He's going to have millions of housing projects by Joe Jane taxpayer, right? Because that works, right? We can be taxed to pay for it, building people small, tiny little houses in super high rises on the limited amount of private property because we never get any more. The entirety of Canada fits in the Florida Panhandle. Canadians don't seem to understand this. And people are cheering for Pierre Poilievre, who says he's going to put union workers like myself, who's in massive industrial, to work building subsidized housing via taxpayers. And don't worry, if taxpayers don't afford it, just like Justin Trudeau over these last several years, they'll just borrow against you and you'll pay later. Absolutely, by superinflating all your costs because of massive debts the government's put on. And you wonder why your dollar depreciates. You wonder why goods keep costing more as we import these things and they're out of control. Well, folks, your government says we need to cram as many people from around the world as they can on the 9% of Canada that's never grown largely. Like there's been a few minor releases, like even in my home province of Alberta, I think that's the last government release of Crown land, and it's very limited. It's all way up north when we get from Grand Prairie to high level. I know my parents got into Peace River early on in the 70s. I think that was the last semi-release of Crown land. Over 90% of this country is unavailable to any of us. It sits for those politicians like Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau, right, with crown titles and all their appointments. They get them, and then they lease it out to foreign actors, basically billionaire globalists, who make all the money getting a sweet deal on our cheaper than cheap resources like so many other colonial countries. We don't get anything. Be glad you got a job, they say. Meanwhile, they don't release any crown land. They keep over 90% of Canada away from all of us. And they keep stacking more and more in densities beyond measure. Canadians can't figure this out. G's scratching their head. Man, 6 months a year, like, I don't know about anybody else, but there isn't nothing budding out where I'm at here. And we're already into May. The idea of April showers bring May flowers is not true for 75% of Canadians throughout Canada. It's just not true. And of course, we have brutal winters. And for some reason, your average acre goes for 4 or 5 times more than the average acre in the United States. It gets even crazier when you get into utilities and hookups and infrastructure and the rest of it. In Canada, it just starts soaring from there to ridiculousness. The cities show you that. Even rural communities show you that. It's beyond all measure. And that's largely from the over robust taxation without representation. Canadians can't figure it out. From fuel to food to energy, you're getting taxed beyond mostly everybody else. You have to look to Europe and other kingdom states to see the equivalent, or sick unitary dictatorships that we used to run down 10 years ago and say, never get like that. But now we embrace that as something good. And now today, Pierre Poilievre, showing his true colors, the colors I've always known there, puts out a post saying, 500,000 union workers will have jobs in the federal housing boom that's going to come off of taxpayers or borrowed against taxpayers. And folks, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Anyone who knows when you pull out a credit card to buy a home and then another credit card to buy another home and another one, at the end of the day, you're going to lose. It's a pyramid scheme, and it doesn't work. Somebody at the bottom is going to be left holding the bag. You can only get a credit card on a credit card for so long until people go, time out. Okay, Venezuela, your money's not worth nothing. You have zero foreign investment, and they don't care about your resources. That's a fact. You can go all over the world and see this happen with countries that just a few years before that were doing exceptionally well and had no reason in their robust resources to end up in such dire straits. Dire straits, folks, that take forever to come back from. Right now, today, our household debt to GDP ratio, the largest Canada's ever seen, largest in the world, in fact, 180%. Our public, meaning the federal government's debt to GDP ratio, we're not even getting into the provinces. The municipalities are getting dire and sick. Even Alberta, people talk about this, how plentiful and bountiful Alberta is. I'm sorry, the spending is way out of control. You can't even find an American city with 8 times our population. Think about that. Of Alberta, never mind Alberta's cities. You can't even find cities in the States with 8 times the population comparable to that in spending, and supposed conservatives can't seem to figure that out, that you're way over your load limits for that small amount of people, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Pierre Poilievre promising that we're going to be able to take on the Century Initiative, doubling down on Trudeau, saying he has a better way of government financing housing across Canada, and that he's going to put all these union workers to work as they close industries in rural development. That's his post. Can't now, Quebec Today, can't make this up. Anyone can click on the link in this video and you'll see it. We're done. And if people don't see it, you're going to see it in just a few years, maybe not even, as already. You can go back to Justin Trudeau just about 6 years ago with even Chrystia Freeland then saying, oh, don't worry, our public debt to GDP ratio can handle it. It's so low. And we went from 62 to a whopping 113 now. Our household debt is way over at 180%. You don't even want to know what the corporate debt to GDP ratio is. Totally combined, we're at 416%. What does that mean? It means for every Canadian, when you produce, let's say you produce a can of pop, you produce that in one year. Let's just say that's what the Canadian produced. It means you owe 4 cans of pop. You get it? You're way over. Doesn't matter what your government owes. Doesn't matter what everyone has out in mortgages, credit cards, car payments. Doesn't matter what corporations have debts out. At the end of the day, through our financial system and our Crown Canada, all those debts belong to each and every one of us subjects. Meaning people turn in their keys, give back the car, or drop the plastic credit card and say, I'm done. Or the corporation goes in and says, we're insolvent. Guess who eats it? Me, you, everybody eats it. Whether you were invested in it or had nothing to do with it does not matter. When you start adding up 4 of these against only the ability to build 1 of these, think about that. When that's just dumped on you, what does that do for all your foreign investment? Well, I can tell you what's already happening now. Just like so many countries before us, out the window. And the government, like every other government before it that went down the toilet, we just keep upping taxes, like this carbon tax scam. Just keep upping taxes, find more taxes, fees. Those are taxes. You can privatize things and then charge people for services that they were already taxed for, or even built the infrastructure around it, and then it was sold to somebody else to make money, usually a rich friend of a politician. This is all taxation without representation. It's mass corruption. It's the worst of the worst. The Taxpayers Federation makes me laugh now. They made me turn from them quite a long time ago as I got really involved in the United States and the physical restraint of the 50 states that are very physically restrained. They don't do to Americans what our Canadian politicians do to us at the provincial, municipal, or especially the federal level. It seems the more taxes you pay as a Canadian, the more that's thieved from you, the least amount of accountability. It's pathetic. Like every radical socialist fascist country, or just socialist extremist, even if they're not fascism defined in a crown environment, nonetheless, it still is bad, and still the atrocities happen when you go over that realm. And that's where we are in Canada. And when you see a conservative opposition leader going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada telling Canadians that don't worry, I'm going to finance housing, I'm going to debt load Canadians for housing, and continually ramp up immigration, it's time that you have to really start looking, because we're at those markers just months out from Venezuela. You can say, oh, don't worry, the States is going to buy from us no matter what. I can promise you in November, Joe Biden's likely going to be gone. By the following February, Donald Trump's going to be in there. He's going to drill, baby, drill, and it's going to be oil, oil, oil. And it's going to replace our losing market share that we've cut ourselves out of. And Pierre's doing it too. Don't kid yourself. He and his comrades in arms here, liberal, conservative, NDP, and their brains and in their capacity as they believe superior human beings, they believe that somehow they're going to keep taking and taking, and you're all just going to go with it like every other crazy radical regime before it, just like Venezuela. And then one day the bubble bursts, and then they're running for their lives, and they probably will get away. Canada doesn't have robust international laws and agreements. We've always been colonial. It's kind of like the old Titanic story, exactly like the old Titanic story. There's only enough life rafts for them, none of you. We sink with the ship, that ship being Canada, and we're this close. In economics now, people are really pointing at this. Chrystia Freeland's face is on international publications, credited ones, as the worst indebted country in the world. Think about that. Think about that. This is real, credible, verifiable. I only gave you a little taste of everything I read today. And, when you see your country ranked the worst in the world, that should tell you something. The worst in the world by large margins. We're right there with Venezuela. And your government is still lying to you. Pierre Poilievre says, don't worry, let me continue on. I'm going to make it better by doing the same old, same old. I'm going to continue mass immigration. I'm going to make all of you pay for housing to house people who can't afford our crummy system because we're so debt loaded. Folks, union, non-union, public sector, the bow is going to break. There's only so much you can grind out when you've destroyed your primary sector, when you're energy poverty, when you're food insecure. There's only so much you can do, and then you've debt loaded through your institutions, corrupt beyond all measure for a wealthy few who are tasked with leading your nation. It's sick, it's wrong, and like every other dirty, corrupt regime in history in these kind of situations and in these debt-loaded and taxed environments, you hit a toilet flush that once it starts going down the bowl, it's gonzo, and people don't see it, they don't want to see it, but you're going to find out very much sooner than later. We haven't even felt any of the effects. We're just starting on COVID effects. That's already coming on from the start of that 4 years ago when the government started ramping up spending. And we're just starting to feel the effects. We haven't even got through those 2 years or these crappy years after it, but it's going to be felt. Eventually it's going to be felt, and we are just starting to feel it. You haven't seen nothing yet. That's my video. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Everyone has a right to know, and you can look. It's all credible, real, and verifiable. And it amazes me, the denialists. People run down liberals and dippers and green. And yes, they were in their denials. They're denialists, I know that. But to see it in supposed conservatives, Where is your physical restraint? Where is your outrage? Oh no, they know what they're doing. I've seen every scam for years and years. I work up here in Fort McMurray. A beloved childhood friend of mine, his father in the 70s, and we went through this, and I was just a teenager, and we were looking at this. Did you know that the scheme of the government of the time was to dome Fort McMurray, a biodome, so it'd be summer all year long? Oh yeah, radical ideas when a province was making money. And of course, from that radical idea, we went boom. And then that was ruined for many decades after. Many decades after that, at the height of insanity, which is your government institution. Socialist and fascist delusions of grandeur, out of control spending, corruption. It's a sickness of the brain. And it's been repeated so many times in history, just recent history. We can look at countries very close to us, realistically, only one continent over, just a hop, skip, and a jump. And you look at a number of those countries that went down the toilet, pretty much in the same boat as Canada is in now. And people didn't learn from that. You don't believe that that can happen to you. You think you're immune to it. You got politicians on delusions of 1,200-kilometer trains to transport everybody in Alberta around. You got federal politicians talking about, don't worry, we're not going to release any land. We're going to build millions and millions of new houses borrowed against you. Well, that means you're mortgaging against me for someone I don't even know or someone yet to come to Canada. And I don't agree with any of that. If that's not screaming pure socialist, pure colonial fascist, I don't know what does. And it's pretty sick that people don't see it. It's always up to all of you to share, to get it out there. And it's if you care, because people have a right to know this. This is real, credible, verifiable. This is Pierre Poilievre, word for word today in Gatineau, Quebec. It's the Century Initiative. If people haven't read this, you should, because it's pure colonialism right out of a horror book from many hundreds of years ago. And we're sitting here going, yep, let's start it up again. Don't worry, ruin my children, ruin my grandchildren's future forevermore in this country. Oh, it won't happen to us. We're different than Venezuela or so many other countries. We're different. We're different. It'll never happen to us. Oh, it's going to happen to us. And the sad part is there's no savior politician in this crummy, shitty Canadian model to bring us out. Nobody's telling you these very real, credible truths. You have to leave the country to find out the truth. And the world sees it. So many in the world see it. And you're going to watch as all your foreign investment flees this country. And that's why they're talking the way they are. Oh, you need to have the domestic population invest in Canada because nobody else wants to or would even step their foot in that puddle. That's scary. That's scary. The alarm bells should be all over the place. You need to share. Get this out there. Again, credible, real, verifiable. Can all go look at it. If you haven't read the Century Initiative, it's been going on for quite a while. You should. And all the globalism everybody hates, WAF-WHO and all that, that is the number one initiative on that agenda. Old world order. Powerful NGOs, groups you say are the UN, they're not the UN. They're NGOs out of the old League of Nations that Canada is 100% attached to under the British Empire. If you didn't know that, go read your preliminary of the Canadian Constitutional Acts. Tells you all of it right there. There since 1867, there today. Never amended, never dismembered, never changed. Continues just like that old world. And we're at the height of what's going to be destruction. This is a broken system, and that pyramid is nearing the end of its bottoms out. And that means everybody goes tits up. That's my best way of explaining it. God bless everybody. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Bye now.